Tiff and Rach here.
We are the Nobodies, and this is our podcast.
Hello to day 10 of this. Is it
11?
11. Where are we?
Who can never be sure?
We are not sure. But we're on Saturday. We finished our second week of ATSI training. And
Saturday vibes. Saturday vibes.
We got up this morning, and instead of going to the gym, we made Frankenbreakfast. Which
What was Frankenbreakfast, Rach?
It was pizza. Mm-hmm. It was an omelet. Yeah. And it was leftover prote cakes.
It was really fucking good, actually.
It was delicious. And we are now nourished, and we've decided to take the day for some self-care, and we're going to the hot springs.
Yeah, we're going to the Murrieta Hot Springs Spa on our way to a very juxtaposed event known as Mayhem Fest.
And apparently, one of my dear friends from back in Canada, the band that she is in, they're playing this festival. And the blessed social medias have brought them back. Not that they ever really left. They just went on a bit of a hiatus.
A diva dip.
It was. And it got real tired for a little while, I think, of just doing the same thing. And so we're back going to see them play. And it's my first time that I've met up with my dear friend Tara since 2017 in California, where, I've seen her since, but this is our California dip, which is very fun.
I love it.
So we're going to talk about our spiral line session that we did with our model yesterday.
Yeah. We started the day with a quiz or test, whatever you want to call it. And then we had a really interesting foray into the gait cycle, watching each other walk, watching not only what the feet are doing, but how the knee joints are responding to the ankle joints, are responding to the hip joints, are responding to the rib cage, because your whole body is involved in walking. And it's really quite fascinating to watch where people are getting the energy from, where their bodies aren't moving the way that they could have more energy, and just really how they're adapting to someone's held places.
To kind of cycle through that is, Tom was saying, he's like, yeah, you can walk 20 kilometers on a hike, and while you're using your fascia, you are recoiling and getting to use stored energy when you are mobilizing one gait cycle after the other, when you're an efficient walker. And then he kind of threw in that lots of people are like, why am I so tired? And all I did was
walk around a
museum. Well, it's because you're taking these very slow steps, and they're also often paused. And so it's like that, having to restart that cycle every time that you start walking again.
You're using a lot more muscular capacity, which is limited and fades faster than fascial energy. It's funny because I play a lot of pickleball. I don't know if you guys know this. It's my obsession. And once there was a guy watching me on the court, and he pulled me aside and he's like, how are you moving this way? He said, it looks like one seamless movement. You don't look like you're efforting. He could see that I was using my fascial system. He didn't know what I was doing. And I've trained myself to be able to access my fascial sheets to provide this recoil so that I can smack the ball really hard hundreds of times and really not wear myself out, which is pretty great.
You know, there's a couple of different ways that people have tried to, kind of explain the difference between recoil, fascial energy, and then using muscle. And one of them that I love that is an easy visualization is picking up a hand weight that's 5 pounds, holding it straight out with your arm and trying to lift it up and down and up and down and up and down. And then if you were to, that's very much using your muscle. And you get tired very quickly with even a small
12,
weight.
15, 20 reps. And you're like,
and
I got to put this down.
And then if you were to take that weight and tie it to an elastic band and then hold the elastic band on the end with the weight hanging and move your arm just a tiny bit, and that
is bouncing the weight up and down.
Up and down. And you're using very little energy to do so. And that's a really nice representation of how our fascia actually recoils and is able to utilize its stored energy from the previous movement.
Right, you think about your Achilles tendon. Basically, our fascial system is one giant Achilles tendon in all these different areas. Obviously not the same density or capacity, but it really is likened to that.
Is that we're being able to store and use. And so when we went into the spiral line yesterday, we were like
already spiraled hard,
out of control. And the energy in the salon. So Tiff and I have different cohorts that start at different times so that we have space and the teachers have time to do the launching. And
the launching, to remind you, is where the teacher comes over and we talk through what we see in our body reading and in our testing. And we say, hey, this is my plan based on what I'm seeing. And then the teacher can kind of advise us, give us a little tidbit of like, I see that, but also this, or perfect, go ahead. So it's just that little check, which is why we're doing this, to have those checks and balances.
And so we were in purgatory, as we normally call salon, sometimes because it's in this windowless room that feels dark and sorrow-filled. Yep. And yesterday it was. Like, the energy of our classmates that were in our cohort was really down. I was also having a lot of feels about my experience with my model. She has a lot of complex issues. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them that are intuitive because she shows certain fascial patterns that don't usually add up together.
And this happens. This has happened to us in our clientele. Yes. Like, we see things that don't follow the quote unquote pattern. And that is part of this deeper thinking that we're learning to embody, is that, yeah, people do fucking strange things with their bodies to make shit work when it's not working optimally.
We're amazing compensators.
Oh, so amazing.
We are the most amazing compensators. And then until our body is like, and now we're... Yeah. And, oh, dear. Here we go. Hi, we're back. We make feedback happen because we
laughed ourselves out of the podcast, but we're here again. Don't worry.
So anyway, the salon went very kind of and I had made a really stark reference to the fact that I felt very alone in my end to my day on our session days. These days go so well when people are showing up at the same time and that we can
we're all working together.
They feel really great. But there's this kind of like very jorpy, and that's a word you'll hear from Tiff and Rach. It means
off, askew, jank.
Yeah, that's a word. It's like, we know it's not 100% wrong, but it sure ain't right.
Yep.
And so
it's a case of the not rights.
Yeah. And so it feels really weird when lots of people finish before you and then the room empties. So I had made a comment about how I felt as the last person in the room and having the whole room empty around me.
The case of the left behind.
Yes. And even though I'm not late, it's just the happenstance of the way things go. Things changed yesterday. I ended up really cycling back to the basics, and I had to really pull myself back from going too micro and analytic in my brain. And I saw my girl for what she had in front of me yesterday. I wasn't trying to look too far ahead, but I also she gave me a tidbit of information that was very helpful about her, about not just her pattern, but some health history that she has. Mm-hmm. And ended up making my session go way better than I had anticipated. And, we ended up finishing the day, and we all leave going, ugh, like we're ready for the weekend, you know. And Tiff had a nice little talk with Tom outside as she was waiting before her session.
He said something to me that I found profound, as much of what he says is, and he said, I just keep battling with myself, thinking that I'm doing you guys a disservice because he's so far ahead. We talked about it, like he has this bouillon cube for a brain, and he's trying to guide us. And sometimes he's so far ahead that we don't see and we don't know how to get where he's gone. But I told him, I was like, these breadcrumbs that you're dropping for us, it may take me 10 years to get to the understanding that you have, but it may take me longer. It may take me a lifetime, but I'm willing and I'm grateful. And so it was just nice to have that moment. And then I shared with the group this quote from Brene Brown that I found really impactful. And it said that that real learning happens where armor is it's not required or necessary or rewarded. And I want you to think about that. The armor that we build, Tom also said this beautiful thing about how when we're born and how we first receive love, that is how we imprison ourselves. And that
we're born open to love.
Right.
We're just a wide open heart. And the first thing that we receive
that
is
we experience.
How we envision love.
And so we build these cages and this armor around ourselves. And this process is breaking us free from that. And I love that I'm getting to learn in a place where my armor isn't necessary and it's not rewarded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and being seen too. Into
seen and held,
seen, and also not afraid.
Yeah.
Of having that be a really vulnerable place. This is probably the most vulnerable training that we could have ever experienced.
And not only that, the people that are holding us, they're holding us accountable because they're saying, I see all this brokenness and I see all this armor, and I'm saying enough, no more. I'm inviting you to let it go. And that's it's deep. Mm-hmm. It's profound. It's huge. It's such a gift. God, it's such a gift.
Yeah, and we're going to, this next week, we've passed now the precipice. Our toboggan is headed down the massive slope.
Of the core.
We're going into the core.
So these 4 sessions, we unwrapped the superficial fascia, or the wrapping paper, the sausage casing that holds people together to cover over the deeper issues happening in the core. So everyone, ourselves included, have felt these strange sensations and almost like we're having to relearn how to stabilize things because our outer armor is no longer.
Yes, we've really opened ourselves to be quite vulnerable, and that's the reason why we're also taking a real nice self-care day to go and just relax and feel a little
soak and try to be mindful about what's happening in our bodies without moving them 1,000 miles per minute.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I hope you guys all have a restorative, or will, when we drop this, have had restorative times for yourself. And remember that you do exist in your own world.
Yeah.
It's not the doing always.
And that
it's
you're
the
allowed
being.
To be, and that you're allowed to experience yourself wherever you are.
And we encourage it.
Yeah. You know what? Attention is everything.
And we appreciate yours.
Have a great day.